love another talk with you over coffee. You always look so great, like a movie star.
Hi everyone. So today I'm talking with Anna, and we're
Hi.
going to be talking about weddings and writing. So Anna, why don't you just give everyone a quick introduction of who you are and where you are in the world?
So you can see I'm not in Scotland, definitely not in Scotland. I'm Anna, and I am a British expat, and I live in South Africa. I live in Durban. I moved here 25 years ago, so I've actually spent half my life in England and half my life in South Africa. So most of my adult life living here. I moved here because of getting married. So it's a good chat that we're having. Yeah.
So what's your husband's name?
Craig.
Okay. So where did
Yeah.
you meet? So he's
We
South
met
African,
in
right?
Cambridge. Yeah. He's
Yeah.
South African. He grew up here in Durban. And then
Mhm.
when he finished his degree, he decided he wanted to travel like a lot of South Africans do. But what he actually decided to do was, rather than doing the kind of propping up a bar and doing boring old jobs, he decided that he would look to do a PhD. So he came over to the UK and he was studying in Cambridge, and I was living in Cambridge at the time. So he came through to the same church because his sister, who was living in the UK on like a 6-month prop up a bar kind of a trip,
Mhm.
she was living in Diggs, and so she kind of said to him, you must come along to church. And we had a student group, so he was part of the student group. But when I first met him, I didn't understand him when he spoke to me. So he would ask me a question and I'd go, yeah. And then you could tell from the look on his face that he was like, oh, it's a funny answer. Thankfully now I can speak South African now. So I know what he's telling me. But so that was how I met him. And then we dated for a couple of years, and then we moved over here. We got married and we moved over here 2 weeks after our wedding. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So that's
So
kind of thing.
did you have a wedding in England and a wedding in South Africa, or was it just the England wedding and people came from South Africa?
We had a wedding in England and a few people came over, and
Mhm.
then we did another little kind of party thing here for friends and family on this side.
Mhm.
I think it was actually quite good because we didn't have to have the big fight about, Robbie, you've got to invite great Aunt Nellie because she met you once, and
Yeah.
so we didn't have that. So that was quite nice. But what we did have in South Africa, when you send out a wedding invitation, you put on the names of both sets of parents. So you say the parents of Anna invite you to the wedding of Craig, and his parents also invite you. Well, of course, you don't do that. Well, not in England. Don't you do in Scotland? But
Yeah.
in
No.
England, you just say it's from the parents of the
Mhm.
bride.
Yeah.
So all these invitations went out, and they came to the people here in South Africa, and it just said Anna's parents invite you to the wedding. And actually, my in-laws didn't notice. They didn't even pick up on it. Somebody else did, and they said, "Why are you left off the invitation?" I was like, "Oh, sorry, didn't know about that." And of course, Craig, he's got no clue. He's a student. He doesn't know. So, so that was our first little overseas kind of foreign faux pas that we made of not quite doing the invitations correctly. But you don't know what you don't know when you do
Yeah.
it like that. So you've got no clue. You just go with what's normal, and you don't know that's not normal for other people.
Yeah, exactly. And because it's just, as you say, if people say what's cultural, you're like, well, I don't know, because
Yeah,
it's just how we do things.
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
only when you have a coming together of two
Yeah, that's
different
right. You
cultures.
suddenly realize, oh, there are some differences.
Yeah, yeah. So how did he propose, or did you propose?
No, he proposed. It was my birthday, and we were going out somewhere for dinner, and he said he wanted to take me for sundowners, for sunset drinks, which is a very South African thing, that you go and you look at the sunset and you look at drinks. But Cambridge is quite flat, so there's
Uh-huh.
not that many hills to look at sunsets. So we went off. I don't even know where we were. We were like in some random field. I don't know where it was. We were sort of sitting on a bench, And he handed me my birthday card, and it was like, oh, that's really nice, you know. And I opened up the card, and the picture on the front was Rodin's The Kiss. And I was like, oh, that's nice. And then inside it was, will you marry me? And for ages, I just sat there on the bench. I was like swinging my legs, going, no, no. And he says, say yes. I'm like, oh, yes, yes. But he had actually, I was very impressed with him. He had somehow managed to track down my folks, who were, my dad is from Northern Ireland, and they were on holiday visiting family. And somehow he managed to track them down, and he phoned and asked my dad first if, you know, if he could marry me. And so my dad was like, well, you know, I'm not going to say yes on her behalf. She, you know, she's her own person. She must say yes. So poor Craig's like, oh gosh, now I really got it, because even the dad's not giving me the straight answer. I was impressed. He made the effort to try and find the phone number. I don't know how he did that. Find the phone number of where they were staying. And so, yeah, he worked quite hard on that one.
Yeah. Oh, that is impressive. When we got, when Innes proposed to me, well, I knew he was going to do it like a week before, and and we were so busy keeping it quiet that he totally forgot to ask my dad's permission. My dad was a little bit put out.
Yeah. It's quite an important thing to do, hey? It's
like, apparently.
Just ask. Yeah, that's right.
So how many bridesmaids did you have, and what colour were the dresses?
I had 3 bridesmaids. So I had my sister and Craig's 2 sisters who came over, and we had like bottle green dresses. I mean, a lot about the wedding was stuff that you know what, I'm not going to fight over things that don't matter. So I would have chosen something a bit more simple and a bit less kind of fancy dress up, but it was okay. You know, it was lovely on the day, and it's not worth falling out over something like a dress. So we had these beautiful dresses. My mom made my sisters, and my future mother-in-law made the ones for her 2 girls, so that was quite special. It was lovely. And the guys all got tails. Sure, they ended up getting tails. I don't really remember my wedding very well. It's quite a while ago, 25 years ago. So so yeah, the guys all hired fancy suits, also in green. That's right. I think they also got green, like dark green suits, jackets. Nice. You know? But then, so because my mom had been quite, you have to do it the way things are supposed to be done, etiquette, and you know, it kind of said that Craig, being the groom, has to organise the cars, and Craig, how's he going to organise cars when he doesn't live there? But anyway, so he had to organise the cars. So she was quite, you know, she'd found a magazine that said who does what. So it was like, well, that's how it's got to be done. And you know, when your parents are paying, you go with the flow. So anyway, Craig was being all very good, but then he decided, no, I've just got to do something. So he went out to the tie shop. Is the tie shop still around? So he went out to the tie shop.
No, it's not around anymore. I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
The place that sold ties.
Yeah.
And he found these ties with a big Mr. Happy on the bottom half of the tie. So he gets all the grooms. He had quite a few groomsmen, 3 or 4, I think. And he gave them all these ties, and he took one for himself, and he like tucked it in behind the waistcoat, whatever they were wearing. And then when it was time for the photos, everyone's standing there and everyone's looking all so lovely and nice. And then he says to his mates, okay, right, 1, 2, 3, whoop, and out they whipped these ties. It was so great. So thankfully my mom saw the funny side of the Mr. Happy ties. But brilliant. It was very good. It was actually, there were some very fun moments, I must say.
Yeah. And that's the kind of things that make it unique for you, and the fun things to look back on. Did anything go wrong on the day?
We did have one when we arrived at the hotel, and we were, you know, you do the thing where you stand in a line and everyone, you get greeted and la. So we were doing all of that. And a housemate of mine kind of quietly came up to me and she said, are we supposed to be at the reception? I'm like, yes, of course you are. Why not? So she said, no, our name's not on the table layout. So then it was kind of like, Mom, can you just go off and find someone to organise place settings for her and her husband? It was the 2 of them. So that was a bit embarrassing, but she took it well, so that was all right. And then other than that, no, it actually went really well. We the South African mates had come over, and they were all armed with their shaving foam and paint and cans and all the rest of it. They were all ready to decorate the car and stuff the air vents with confetti and all that kind of stuff. But Craig had actually arranged through my mom to go with friends of theirs who have a sailing boat. So we got married in Falmouth. We actually, the reception was in Cornwall, and the reception was at the hotel where The Wind in the Willows was written, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, amazing. So there were all these like toad and mole things all over the place. So she'd arranged that these people would come and collect us in their yacht. So instead of us going away in a wedding car, we climbed onto this yacht. My cousin was like sobbing her eyes out, like, oh, I'm never going to see you again. Where's she going over there? Not very far. No, shame. I was about to leave the country anyway, so that was quite a thing. And so we sailed across the estuary to the other side, and we arrived on the other side. It was so funny, into the harbour, and there were these two lads sitting on the harbour wall eating fish and chips from their newspaper packet. And they're like,
yeah,
I think they didn't bat an eyelid. It was like they always saw people arriving in wedding dresses on yachts into the harbour. It was just so great. And all the Craig's mates were furious because they hadn't been able to decorate a car.
And he was like,
yeah, exactly. It's quite good.
Brilliant. So any of your books feature weddings?
Actually, why do I not feature weddings? I suppose because I don't generally write romancy type stories. You know, not that weddings are always romantic, but you know, it doesn't have to be soppy romance. You know what I mean? But I think it's just the type of characters that I've chosen. I mean, I've alluded to when they're about to get married or that they did get married, but I've not really kind of featured an actual wedding. I don't know. I wonder whether I ever would. I guess it would depend.
St. Saviour's could have a wedding.
That would be quite fun. We could marry. I think Tamara maybe needs to get married.
Yes, she does.
All adrift, isn't she?
Yeah, poor Tamara. I really like her so much. In fact, why don't you tell us a little bit about your books just now as well, Anna?
Yes. So I write two types of books. The one is I write historical fiction. Well, I write three. I write non-fiction and poetry and stuff too. But the fiction, I write historical fiction. So I've done a couple of novels there. The first one was about the story of a small village in the north of England that was affected by the plague in the mid-1600s. And basically what they did as a community. So that was to kind of combat the spread of the plague in the community. So that was as true to life as I could get the story with real people and so on. Then the next historical fiction I wrote was a World War II kind of dual time novel, which I really enjoyed writing. It was about the young girls, 18, 19-year-olds who volunteered to work for the First Aid Nursing Yeomanry. And not all of them were nurses. Some of them went off and worked with the Special Operations Executive and worked on decoding, like, you know, hello, when they phone in, hello, this is London calling, you know, that kind of thing. So they would... so it was the girls at the other end of those calls and how they managed to decipher the messages and so on. So that was that story. And then I started writing. I just one year decided to write a Christmas novella. I was just like, oh, I've got to do something for Christmas, and I just want to whiz something. So I actually based it around the 4 Advent candles of Christmas. So I kind of thought, okay, I'll have one person per candle. And then on Christmas Day, when you light the main candle, all the characters could come together. And I actually enjoyed writing it so much that then last Christmas, I decided to write another one. So my little mythical church based in London is called St. Saviour's. And there's all this little community of people who live and work around St. Saviour's. And then I'm right in the middle of doing an Easter one, which Easter's just around the corner. So I need to get wriggle on with that. But I love writing those because, I mean, there's no research involved, really. You know, it's just kind of whack out the story and see what my imagination comes up with. How can I tie in the different Christian themes without being overtly throwing Christianity at people? You know, the same with the historical novels. It's like it's very much a Christian theme, And the first one in particular, because it does revolve around the two vicars in the community. It does revolve around them a lot. And so that one obviously has got a much more sort of a overtly Christian influence. Whereas the second historical novel, I've kind of included C.S. Lewis in there, included a bit of church, but not lots, you know. So obviously by the nature of this one being centered around church, not everyone's going to, you know, church is church. So but I think it's just so fun, and being able to kind of think of ways of how church communities build together and how they reach out, and the kind of different people that come in, and how they find the experience of attending some kind of a church. You know, I grew up Church of England, but now I go to a charismatic free kind of church. So it's nice to get the kind of mix of the two.
It's great. It's great. Well, thank you very much for chatting. And that's been fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, great. I'm looking forward to reading all about sunglasses,
raincoats and wedding dresses.
Raincoats and wedding dresses. Can't wait. Can't wait.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
I'd love another talk with you over coffee. You always look so great, like a movie.